The room was silent. Only the hum of the ship's engines filled the air after hours of battle. The human hero finally had a moment to breathe. He unstrapped his armor piece by piece. His muscles ached, and his chest carried the marks of close calls. For the first time that day, he thought he was safe. He thought he was alone. The room was private. No one was supposed to enter without clearance. Guards stood outside and security codes were locked in. It was his changing room, his place of rest after carrying the weight of command. Yet something did not feel right. The air felt heavier than before. He sat on the bench, wiping the sweat. From his face, his mind replayed the chaos of the last fight. Alien ships had swarmed the fleet, and he had fought until his body screamed for rest. Now, finally, the danger was gone, or so he believed. Then it happened. A faint sound broke the silence, a sound too soft for footsteps, yet too sharp to be ignored. The door, the heavy, reinforced door, shifted with a creak. He froze. His heart thudded against his ribs. That door was locked. No one had the code but him. He rose quickly, his hand instinctively reaching for the small weapon resting near his armor. His eyes narrowed at the door. It was not supposed to move, not supposed to open. He had faced monsters and soldiers, but here, in the place of privacy, this intrusion felt worse. It felt wrong. The door opened slowly, inch by inch. The corridor light spilled into the dim room, stretching shadows across the floor. He expected to see a soldier, maybe a medic with urgent news, but what he saw made his breath stop. A figure slipped inside, small compared to him. Yet her presence filled the room like a storm. Her movements were cautious, but bold, as if she had planned this moment, as if she knew the risks, but didn't care. His grip tightened on the weapon. He stepped forward, his voice low and sharp. "Who's there?" he demanded. The figure stepped closer. The dim light revealed her face, not human, not one of his kind. Her skin shimmered with faint silver patterns like stars etched across her body. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark, not with menace, but with something else, something he could not name. He should have raised the alarm. He should have called the guards, but his hand trembled, not with fear but with shock. He had seen aliens before. He had fought them, negotiated with them, but never had one walked into his private space. Never like this. She closed the door. Behind her, the click echoed like a drumbeat. Now it was only the two of them. Her breathing was fast, nervous, but her eyes never left him. "You should not be here," he said firmly, his weapon still raised. "This room is restricted." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped forward, her gaze locked on him. It was not hatred, it was not the look of an assassin. It was something softer, something dangerous in another way. His mind raced. Was this a trap? Was she a spy sent to kill him when his guard was down? But if so, why did she look at him like that? Why did her hands shake as she tried to speak? Finally, she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I had to see you." Those words struck him harder than a weapon. He blinked, unsure if he had heard right. She took another step forward. Her silver markings caught the faint light, glowing faintly like living tattoos. She was younger than he expected, fragile in one way, fearless in another. Her presence made the air heavy, yet strangely warm. He lowered the weapon slightly, not enough to trust but enough to question. "You risked everything for this?" he asked, his voice rough. Her lips parted, but her answer didn't come. Not yet. She seemed caught between fear and courage, her hands twisted together as if, holding back the truth. Her eyes glistened, reflecting the dim light of the chamber. For a moment, the room felt like a cage, two beings from different worlds standing face to face, one trained to fight, the other daring enough to sneak past guards and codes. The human hero's breath slowed, his body ready for danger, but his heart beating with something new. He had fought countless battles, yet none prepared him for this, for an alien standing in his room, whispering his name like it was a secret. Then, in a single moment, he realized this was not the start of a fight. It was the start of something else, something far more dangerous, because the door that should never have opened had opened, and nothing would ever be the same again. The silence in the changing room grew heavier. The human hero still stood tense, his weapon in hand, his eyes locked on the alien girl who dared to step inside. She did not move back. She did not lower her gaze. Instead, she breathed slowly, as if gathering the courage to say something she had carried for too long. He studied her carefully. Her frame was slim. Her skin shimmered like silver dust under faint light. Faint glowing lines ran across her arms and neck like living rivers of light. Her eyes, wide and unblinking, carried both fear and determination. Finally, she spoke again, her voice soft but steady. "I watched you from the shadows." Her words trembled at first but grew clearer. "I saw you fight. I saw you protect even those who were not your kind." The human blinked, confusion tightening in his chest. "You were watching me?" he asked sharply, his tone more demanding than gentle. She nodded, her hands clasped together nervously. "Yes. Every battle, every step I followed. I had to." Her eyes lowered for a brief second, then rose again, filled with something strange, something close to longing. "You are not like the others. You fight with more than strength. You fight with heart." His weapon lowered a little more, his grip still firm but his hand not as sure as before. "You risked your life to sneak here for this?" he asked, still unbelieving. Her voice carried a weight, a dangerous kind of honesty. "They told me to stay away from you. They said humans are dangerous, but I could not listen. I wanted to see you, to know if you were real, not just a story whispered in the camps." The word struck him harder than any blade. Whispered in the camps. That meant she was from one of the alien refugee colonies, places torn apart by war, places where humans were seen as both saviors and destroyers. His eyes softened slightly, but he kept his voice steady. "Do you understand what you have done? If the guards find you here, they will not forgive this." Her chin lifted. Her glow brightened faintly along her skin. "I know," she said quietly. "But I was ready. For the risk, because if I left without seeing you, I would never forgive myself." The hero felt a strange pull in his chest. He had been admired before. Soldiers respected him. Leaders counted on him. But this was different. This admiration carried no duty, no politics, no orders. It was raw, personal. He stepped closer. The floor creaked beneath his boots. The alien girl did not step back. Instead, her breath quickened. Her glowing patterns flickered as if responding to her racing heart. Her words spilled out now as if a dam had broken. "When you saved the outpost 3 nights ago, I was there, hidden with the others. I saw you fight even when you were wounded. I saw you shield the children with your own body. No one else would have done that. Not even some of our own warriors." His jaw tightened. Memories of that night burned in his mind. The smoke, the screams, the endless gunfire. He had not thought anyone was watching that closely. Yet here she was. Proof that his choices had reached someone beyond his command. "You should not have followed me," he said, his voice lower now. No longer anger, more like warning. "This could destroy you." She shook her head firmly, her silver hair shifting slightly around her shoulders. "Maybe, but I needed you to know. I am not your enemy. I never was. I only wanted you to see me." Those last words froze him. They pierced deeper than he expected. She wanted to be seen, not as a soldier, not as a refugee, but as herself. For a long moment they stood in silence, two beings from different worlds, the hum of the ship's engines filling the gap between their breaths. Then, a distant sound echoed from the hallway, boots striking metal floors. The guards were near. If they found her here, there would be no explaining it. Her eyes widened. She looked at him desperately. "Please do not let them take me," she whispered, her glowing hand reaching forward slightly, trembling in the air as if unsure whether to touch him. The human hero's pulse raced, his mind shouted rules and consequences. But his heart heard, only the fear in her voice, the sincerity in her words. He stepped forward, closing the space between them, his shadow falling over her smaller frame. He looked directly into her glowing eyes. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Of all the humans, why me?" Her lips trembled, but she answered, her voice breaking yet full of truth. "Because when I saw you, I did not see a soldier. I saw hope. The words sank deep, echoing louder than the footsteps outside. In that moment he understood this was not just admiration, it was something more powerful, something dangerous, something that could change both their lives, and, as the heavy footsteps drew nearer to the door, he realized the choice he made next would decide not only her fate but his own as well. The alien girl stood before him, glowing faintly in the dim room, her secret now revealed, her admiration laid bare. And the human hero knew one thing for certain. Nothing in the galaxy would remain the same after this night. Because he was no longer just a hero to the world. He had become something more to her. The sound of the guards faded as they turned down another corridor. The human hero listened carefully, waiting until the noise disappeared into the distance. Only then did he lower his weapon completely. The alien girl stood frozen, her glowing, hands still trembling, her breath uneven as if she had been holding it for too long. The room felt smaller now, the air thick with silence. Finally he spoke, his voice low but steady. "You need to tell me the truth. Why did you risk everything to come here? Why me?" Her glowing eyes flickered as if the question weighed heavily. She pressed her palms together, her silver markings dimming. Then she whispered, "Because there is something I cannot keep inside anymore, something dangerous, something even my own people would punish me for." His body tensed. The way she said it made his instincts sharpen. He had heard confessions before, from soldiers breaking under pressure, from civilians hiding secrets, but this voice carried more than fear. It carried desperation. "Speak," he ordered softly, not harsh but firm. "If I am to trust you, you cannot hold back." She stepped closer, her shadow mixing with his, her voice unsteady yet strong enough to cut the silence. "I have been following you not only because I admire you, but because I am connected to you, in ways you do not yet understand." His eyes narrowed, confusion tightening inside him. "Connected? To me, how?" Her lips parted, and for a moment she seemed afraid of the words themselves. "When you saved the children at the outpost, I was among them. Hidden behind the broken walls. You did not see me then, but I saw you. I saw you bleed to protect strangers, and in that moment something inside me changed." He blinked, memories of that night returning. He had carried a wounded child, shielded another with his own body, but in the chaos he had not noticed her. Yet here she was, standing before him, glowing with fragile light. Her voice grew stronger, trembling but unstoppable. "My people say humans are reckless, selfish, dangerous. But I saw something different. I saw a human who placed others above himself, even above victory. I could not forget that. I could not let it go." The human hero's chest tightened. He was used to respect from allies, to orders from leaders, but this was different, this was personal. She looked down, shame flickering across her face. "But there is more. Something. I have not told anyone, not even my family. I have been dreaming of you not once but many times, visions I cannot explain. I see you fighting, bleeding, surviving, always standing when no one else can. And in those dreams I feel drawn to you, as if the universe itself is pulling me toward you." Her confession hit him like a shockwave. His hand trembled slightly at his side. He had faced warlords, monsters, entire fleets. But he had never faced words like these. He forced his voice to remain steady. "Dreams are only dreams. They do not mean what you think." She lifted her face, her glowing eyes burning with stubborn light. "No, these are not ordinary dreams. Every time they come true, every detail. I saw the moment you raised your shield at the outpost before. It happened. I saw you fall to your knees when the blast struck you. I knew you would rise again, and you did." He froze. His breath caught. The memory of that blast still haunted him. Only those who were there could have known. Yet she described it exactly as it happened. His mind raced. Was this some alien ability, a power hidden beneath her fragile appearance? Or was it fate itself weaving threads between them? She stepped closer, her glowing patterns brightening with her words. "Do you see now I am not here by chance? I was meant to find you, to stand before you, even if the galaxy calls me a traitor for it." Her voice cracked with emotion, but she stood tall, her courage breaking through her fear. The human hero's heart pounded. He could have dismissed her as foolish, as a risk. But he saw the truth. In her trembling eyes, she believed every word she said, and part of him, deep inside, feared she might be right. "You realize what you're saying?" he muttered, his voice rough. "If your people hear this, they will not forgive you. They will call you cursed. They may even take your life." Her lips pressed into a thin line, but she nodded. "I know. And yet I am here. Because hiding, the truth is worse than death, and you deserve to know that someone sees you not as a weapon, not as a commander, but as a man." Those last words shook him deeply. No one had spoken to him like that in years. To the galaxy he was a hero. To soldiers he was a leader. To enemies he was a threat, but to her, he was simply a man. The silence stretched, his weapon now forgotten on the bench, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. The alien girl's confession hung in the air like fire. Dangerous, unshakable. For the first time since she entered the room, he felt his defenses cracking. A part of him wanted to push her away, to lock the door again and forget this ever happened. But another part, the part that heard her trembling voice and saw her glowing eyes, knew this was the beginning of something that could not be undone. Because her dangerous confession was no longer just her secret, it had become his burden too. And from this night forward, his life would never be the same. The human hero stood motionless, his mind torn between reason and instinct. The alien girl's confession echoed inside him like a pulse he could not silence. Yet before he could answer her, a new sound sliced through the quiet, boots striking metal, voices carrying closer. The guards were returning. Her glowing eyes widened in alarm. She glanced at the door as the shadows of soldiers moved across the thin strip of light beneath it. Panic shimmered across her skin. Her silver patterns flickered like frightened flames. She turned back to him, whispering fast, "If they find me here, it's over. They'll drag me away, please." The hero clenched his jaw. Every rule he knew told him to call them in, to hand her over. It was the safest choice for him, the expected choice for a soldier. But when he looked at her trembling hands, when he heard the way she whispered please, something inside him refused to follow orders. He grabbed her wrist firmly but not harshly, his voice low. "Quiet. Stay close," he said, guiding her quickly toward the darker corner of the room, his body shielding her from the light spilling through the cracks. The door handle rattled. A guard's voice rang. "Captain, are you inside?" The hero's heart slammed in his chest. He forced his voice steady. "Occupied," he barked. "Give me a moment." The guards hesitated, then one answered. "Understood, sir." Their boots shifted, lingering in the hallway. The alien girl's breath came fast against his chest, her glowing patterns dimming. As she tried to hide her light, the human pressed a finger gently to her lips, signaling silence. Her eyes locked on his, wide with both fear and trust. For a moment the world outside faded. It was only the two of them, pressed close in shadow. Minutes passed like hours. The guards finally moved on, their voices growing faint as they walked farther down the hall. The tension in the room eased slightly, but not enough to calm the storm in his chest. The alien girl leaned back, her voice barely above a whisper. "They cannot know I was here. They will call me a traitor. They will call you weak for protecting me." Her words trembled, but her gaze was steady. "You risk too much for me." He exhaled slowly, running a hand over his face. "You should not have come here," he muttered. "But now that you have, there's no turning back." Her glow brightened faintly as if her courage returned. "Then don't send me back," she whispered. "Don't let them take me. I'd rather die here than go back to being invisible." Her word struck him like a blade. There was pain buried deep inside her tone, pain heavier than fear. She wasn't only running from guards, she was running from a life that suffocated her. The hero turned away, pacing a few steps, his mind raced. This was madness. Sheltering her meant breaking every code, risking not just his career but his life. Yet leaving her meant betraying the fragile trust shining in her eyes. He slammed a fist lightly against the metal wall, frustration bleeding through. "Why me?" he muttered again. "Why put this on me?" Her voice came soft but sure. "Because I believe in you, even when I was told not to. Even when everyone else said humans were dangerous. I chose to believe, and I chose you." The silence. After her words was heavier than any command he had ever received. He had been a leader for years, but this choice felt harder than any battlefield. A sudden alarm blared in the distance. Red light pulsed faintly through the hall. Someone had triggered a system check. Security sweeps would begin soon if she was found. It would not only be her fate sealed, but his as well. She stepped closer, her glowing hand trembling as it reached for his arm. "Please help me." Her voice cracked. "I don't want to vanish, not tonight, not when I finally found you." He stared at her hand against his armor. The glow soft yet warm. His chest tightened with conflict, but deep down he knew the truth. The decision had already been made inside him the moment he told her to stay quiet. He sighed deeply, his voice rough but resolute. "Then we move. Now." Her eyes widened in shock, then softened with relief. Her glow pulsed brighter as if answering his choice. He moved quickly to the far wall, pressing against a panel that released a narrow passage used for maintenance. Few knew about it. Fewer used it. He glanced back at her. "Stay behind me, no sound," he ordered. She nodded, her movements swift despite her trembling. She slipped close to him, her presence warm and fragile in the dim corridor. As they stepped into the hidden passage, shadows swallowed them. The hum of engines louder in the narrow space. The world outside grew distant, yet danger pressed closer with every step. For the human hero, battles were familiar, choices were clear, but tonight was different. Tonight he carried not just a weapon, but a life, a secret, and a bond that was already beginning to change everything. The alien girl followed, her glowing patterns faint in the dark, her eyes never leaving his back, and for the first time, she allowed herself to breathe. Because, despite the danger, she was not running alone anymore. The hidden passage was narrow and dark, the metal walls pressed close on either side. The hum of the ship's engines vibrated through the floor beneath their boots. The human hero moved swiftly, his every step careful, controlled. His senses sharp behind him, the alien girl followed, her glowing patterns dim but steady, her breath shallow as she tried to remain silent. The corridor twisted. Pipes and wires ran along the ceiling. The smell of oil and dust filled the air. It was a place meant for engineers, not commanders, and certainly not intruders. But tonight, it was their only hope. The hero paused at an intersection. His ears straining, distant voices carried through the thin metal walls, guards patrolling. Their words muffled, but their presence clear. He raised a hand, signaling her to stop. She froze instantly, her glowing eyes fixed on him, trust flickering in their light. He crouched, checking the panel ahead. A small vent gave a narrow view of the hallway. Two soldiers stood only a few feet away, their rifles slung across their chests, talking casually as they scanned the corridor. One shift of light, one careless sound, and they would be caught. The alien girl's heart pounded. She pressed her back against the wall. Her glowing markings dimmed further as if her body itself tried to hide. She whispered so softly he almost didn't hear. "They'll find us." The hero turned his head slightly, his expression firm. "Not if you stay quiet." His voice was calm, but carried an edge of command. It steadied her trembling hands. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, the soldiers moved on, their footsteps fading. The hero pushed forward, leading her deeper into the maze of maintenance shafts. The passage grew tighter, forcing them to move closer. Her hand brushed against his armor. Once, just for a second, he almost flinched. But he didn't pull away. Instead, he pressed on, his mind focused on the escape route, though part of him was painfully aware of her presence so near. At last, they reached a sealed hatch. The hero knelt, prying the cover with practiced hands. Wires sparked faintly as he overrode the lock. Every click of metal seemed too loud in the silence. The alien girl watched, her breath caught, ready to bolt if alarm screamed. But the hatch released with a soft hiss, opening into another narrow space. This one sloped downward. Colder air rushed in, carrying the scent of machinery and recycled oxygen. He motioned her inside. She slipped, through crouching low, her glowing skin brushing the metal. For a brief moment their eyes met and she whispered, "You know this place like it is part of you." He gave a faint, rough laugh. I built half of it. I know its secrets better than most. Then his expression hardened. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. We must move faster. They crawled downward. The noise of the engines growing louder, echoing like thunder in the narrow shaft. Finally, the path opened into a wider chamber. Dim lights flickered overhead. This was the lower deck, far from the soldiers' patrol routes. The alien girl let out a soft gasp, relief mixing with awe. "We're safe here," she whispered, her voice hopeful. The hero shook his head sharply. "Not yet. Patrols sweep every level, and if they activate scanners, your glow will give you away." Her glow dimmed again, almost fading into pale silver. Her eyes lowered. "I cannot control it fully. It responds to my fear, my emotions." He studied her for a moment, then stepped closer, his hand lifting before he stopped himself. Finally, he let it rest briefly on her shoulder, steady and grounding. "Then stay. Close to me, focus on my steps, not your fear." Her eyes lifted wide and shining. She nodded quickly. "I will." Before they could move again, a sudden echo rang through the chamber. Heavy boots, voices, closer than expected. The hero cursed under his breath, pulling her behind a row of stacked crates. The shadows swallowed them as soldiers entered the deck. The alien girl pressed close, her glowing patterns threatening to flare. He covered part of her with his cloak, his arm shielding her, his own breath steady despite the danger. The soldiers' voices grew louder. One of them muttered, "Command says there's a breach. Someone slipped past the upper deck." Another replied, "We'll find them. No one gets away on this ship." Their boots thudded closer. The girl's trembling increased, her glow brightened faintly. The hero leaned close, his lips near her ear, his whisper calm but firm. "Breathe slow. Control it. I've got you." Her glow dimmed again, her breathing steadied, and for a tense moment, they were nothing but shadows in the dark. The soldiers passed, scanning the area with brief glances, then moved on toward the far side, their voices fading. Only when the sound was gone did the hero let out the breath he had been holding. He looked at her, her face pale but her eyes burning. With silent determination, she whispered shakily, "You saved me again." He shook his head, his tone low. "We're not free yet. One mistake, and everything ends." But his eyes softened, unable to ignore the quiet gratitude in her voice. They moved again, slipping into another passage, deeper into the ship's underbelly, the way ahead uncertain, every corner filled with risk. But the bond between them was no longer fragile curiosity. It was survival. And as they pressed deeper, into the shadows, the human hero knew one truth above all. He was no longer escaping just for himself. He was escaping for her, and that choice would change everything. The underbelly of the ship groaned with the weight of machines. The engines pulsed like a giant heart. Every vibration carried through the floor. The human hero led the way, his body tense, every sense sharpened. The alien girl followed close behind. Her glowing lines dimmed as much as she could, but faint flickers still pulsed with every nervous breath. They moved through a service corridor, shadows stretching across the walls. The hero's mind mapped every path, every escape route. Yet unease gnawed at him. Too many patrols, too many alarms. Sooner or later, someone would notice. And then it happened. A flash of light cut across the corridor. The sharp click of a scanner beam. He shoved her back against the wall just as a patrol rounded the corner. Two soldiers in dark armor, rifles raised, their helmets glowing faintly as scanners swept the air. The beam caught the faint shimmer of her glow. One soldier froze. His voice sharp. "There, movement!" The hero cursed under his breath, no more hiding. He lunged forward before the soldiers could fire. His body moved like instinct. A blade drawn from his belt slicing through the first soldier's weapon arm. Sparks scattered as the rifle clattered to the floor. The second soldier shouted, raising his gun. The alien girl gasped, her glow flaring with fear. The hero pivoted. Fast, his fist slammed into the guard's helmet, cracking it against the wall. The weapon fired wild, a blast of light searing past them and scorching the corridor wall. The fight was fast, brutal, silent except for grunts and the hum of weapons. The first soldier reached for a blade, but the hero kicked it away. His elbow smashed into the man's chest plate, knocking the wind from him. The second soldier struggled, to rise, but a swift strike dropped him cold. Silence returned, broken only by the girl's ragged breathing. Her hands trembled, her glow pulsing wildly. She stared at him with wide eyes. You fought for me." He wiped sweat from his brow, pulling the fallen rifles aside, his chest rising and falling hard. "I've fought for many," he muttered. "But tonight feels different." Her lips parted as if to answer, but the sound of distant alarms cut her short. The skirmish had triggered sensors. More patrols would be coming. He grabbed her wrist, firm but steady. "Move now." They darted into another corridor, the lights above flickering red. The ship itself seemed to pulse with warning. Voices echoed, orders shouted across the decks. The alien girl's glow betrayed her again, faint flickers spilling against the metal walls. She tried to dim it, clenching her fists, but fear made it flare brighter. The hero glanced back, his eyes sharp. "Control it, you must, or they'll see us before we see them." Her breathing hitched, panic rising. I can't," she whispered. "It reacts to my heart, to my fear." Without hesitation, he stopped, pressing her against the wall, his hands braced beside her, his face inches from hers, his voice low, firm, almost commanding. "Then focus. On me, not the fear. Look at me." Her glowing eyes locked onto his, her chest heaved with panic. But slowly, steadily, her glow softened, the wild flickers calming, the lines across her skin dimmed like embers cooling. He held her gaze, his breath steady. "Good. Stay with me." For a heartbeat, the alarms and boots and danger faded. It was only the two of them, their shadows close in the red light, a bond forged in silence and desperation. Then the sound of running boots shattered the moment. A squad of soldiers appeared at the far end of the corridor, weapons raised, their helmets glowing with scanners. The alien girl's glow flared again, bright enough to catch their eyes. Shouts erupted. "Target spotted, fire!" Blasts of light tore through the air. The hero shoved her down, rolling across the floor as energy bolts scorched the walls. His rifle swung up, returning fire with precise, deadly aim, each shot dropping a soldier. Sparks rained from the ceiling as blasts hit metal pipes. Smoke filled the air. "Stay low," he barked, shielding her with his body as he advanced. Every move sharp, relentless. The corridor thundered with violence. The girl crouched, covering her ears, her glow flickering wildly. Yet her eyes never left him. He fought like no other, not just with skill, but with fury, with purpose. Every strike, every shot, was not for glory. It was to keep her alive. The last soldier fell. Silence rushed back, broken by the hiss of smoking walls. The hero's chest heaved, sweat streaked his face. He turned to her, reaching down, pulling her up with one strong gripping, stumbled into his arms, her glow soft and unsteady. "You should have left me," she whispered, tears threatening in her eyes. "You risked everything." He looked at her, his voice low but steady. "I told you. I don't abandon those under my protection." His eyes softened for just a moment. "Even if you chose me without asking, you're mine to protect now." Her breath caught, the words striking deep. Her trembling eased. Her glow steadied into a calm silver light. But the danger was not over. Alarms still screamed through the ship. The echo of running soldiers grew louder again. This was only the beginning of their fight. The human hero tightened his grip on her hand, pulling her forward. "We run. We fight whatever it takes." His eyes blazed with determination. "We escape together." And as they rushed down the corridor, chased by shadows and soldiers, the alien girl's heart surged with a new fire. For the first time in her life, she was not running alone. The alarm still roared, the red lights flashing across every corridor. The human hero pulled the alien girl along, his grip firm, his pace relentless. Behind them, the sound of boots thundered like drums, soldiers shouting orders, rifles charging. They darted through a service hatch, down another narrow shaft, the air thick with smoke from burned wires. Every turn felt like a trap waiting to spring. The girl stumbled once, her glow flickering as fear gripped her. But he caught her, pulling her back to her feet. "No stopping," he said firmly. "We're almost there." Her breath came fast, her voice shaky. "Where are you taking me? To Freedom, he muttered, his eyes locked forward, his jaw tight. The lower deck stretched before them, a maze of pipes and machinery. In the distance, a hangar door glowed faintly, guarded by heavy locks. Beyond that door lay the docking bay, and the small crafts that could carry them away, but the path was not empty. Shadows moved ahead, another squad waiting, their rifles gleaming under the red lights. The hero slowed, his mind racing. Too many to fight directly, not while protecting her. The alien girl's glow brightened in panic. Her voice broke. "They'll kill us. They'll never let us through." He turned, his eyes fierce. "Do you trust me?" She froze, her lips parted, then she nodded slowly. "Yes." "Then do exactly as I say," he said, drawing his blade once more, his rifle slung across his back. The soldiers advanced, shouting, "Surrender!" Now, instead, he lunged forward, fast as lightning. His blade clashed against the first rifle, sparks flying. The girl gasped as the fight erupted again, the corridor shaking with gunfire and shouts. The hero fought with brutal precision, striking, dodging. Every move aimed to protect the space behind him, but still there were too many. One soldier slipped past his guard, raising his weapon toward the girl. Her eyes widened, her glow flared so bright it blinded him. The soldier staggered, covering his eyes, and in that moment, the hero struck. His blade cutting the weapon away, his fist knocking the man to the ground. The girl's glow dimmed again, her body trembling from the burst of energy. But the path ahead was clear. He grabbed her hand, pulling her through the chaos. One final push. Toward the hangar. They stumbled into the docking bay, alarms screaming louder here, red lights flashing across rows of ships, most locked, guarded. But one, an older craft tucked in the shadows, stood free, its hatch partially open. "Inside," he barked, shoving her toward it. She climbed in quickly, her glowing hands gripping the edge as she pulled herself up. He covered her, firing at soldiers rushing into the bay, each shot forcing them back, buying precious seconds. Finally, he dove inside, slamming. The hatch closed behind them. The craft hummed to life, its controls sparking under his touch. The engines roared, shaking the floor. The docking clamps strained, then released. The ship blasted out of the bay, red alarms chasing them into the void of space. Beams of energy shot past, soldiers firing, from turrets. But the hero's hands were steady on the controls, weaving through the fire. Engines burning bright. The alien girl clung to the seat beside him, her glow reflecting the stars outside, her eyes wide, her voice a whisper. "We made it." "Not yet," he muttered, twisting the craft hard as another beam seared past. "Hold on." The chase stretched across the stars, patrol ships rising, to block them. But his skill outmatched them, every turn sharp, every dive precise. Until at last, the black silence of open space swallowed them. No more fire, no more alarms, only stars stretching endlessly. The girl collapsed back against the seat, tears slipping down her cheeks, her voice cracked. "You risked everything, for me." He turned his head slightly, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. "You left me no choice." His voice was rough, but carried something softer beneath it. "From the moment you opened that door, my life stopped being mine." Alone, she stared at him, her glow soft and steady now, no longer flickering with fear, but shining with something deeper. "And from the moment you didn't turn me in, I knew I was no longer alone either." Silence filled the small craft. The hum of the engine steady. Outside the stars burned cold and bright, but inside, warmth spread between them. The hero leaned back, exhaustion weighing on him, but his eyes never left her. "The galaxy will call this betrayal," he said quietly. "They will hunt us both, your people and mine." She nodded slowly, her glow pulsing like a heartbeat. "Then let them hunt, because I would rather be hunted with you than safe without you." Her words struck deeper than any wound. His heart tightened. For years he had carried the weight of command, the burden of being a hero. But in her trembling voice, he found something he had never expected. Someone who saw him not as a weapon, not as a leader, but as a man worth choosing. He reached across, his hand covering hers, strong and steady. "Then we face it together," Her glowing fingers curled around his, the bond sealed not by words but by the silence that followed. A silence filled with trust, with defiance, with something fragile but unbreakable. The craft drifted into the dark, two fugitives bound by a choice that neither could undo. And as the stars swallowed them, one truth burned brighter than any alarm. The human hero had saved her life, but in doing so, she had changed his forever because, in the shadows of betrayal and danger, they had found something the galaxy itself could not break. A bond that would change everything,